Okay, in this video, we're gonna show you how to do the end of day cleaning for the digital squeegee. Typically, this is done after you've used the machine for the day. So for example, if we were not using this machine at all today, you don't actually have to do this cleaning. It's gonna stay capped the whole time. But after you've used it for the day, right before you leave, you're gonna do a little bit of a general clean. So the first step before anything is we're gonna run the auto clean. I'm gonna click that, and that's going to get any of the residual ink off the plate or the head underneath. So if you were running like a really long job, 500 or even 1,000 shirts, there would be quite a bit of ink on the underside. So the auto clean will help remove some of that first. And once the auto clean finishes, we're going to click one of these arrows to move the head away from the capping station. That way we can access it and clean it out, but we do have to wait. There we go. So the auto clean finished. So over here on this side, the arrow that looks like it's pointing to the right is actually pointing to the back of the machine, aka the center of the auto press. So that button is going to move the head over. So usually the head sits right over this capping station, but once you click that button, it actually moves the head over to this position so you can access it. And we've set a timer for 7 minutes. He's already started it because he already moved the head. But basically after 10 minutes, this head will shuttle back over the capping station as a safety so that the heads don't dry out. So you gotta make sure you do this fairly quickly. And if anything, if we're running out of time, we can actually go back up, shuttle it over, and then shuttle it back out of place, and then reset another timer for 7 minutes. So right now, he's got these lint-free cloths, and we're first soaking it in the iClean. Then he basically squeezes out any excess because you don't want it dripping everywhere. And he's going to use this lint-free cloth to gently wipe around the plate. And you have to be very, very careful that you're not actually touching the silver print head surface. You want to clean as much as possible around it, especially if there's any buildup of ink. This looks like it's very, very clean. You can see that there aren't really any solidified areas of ink. That means they've been really, really maintaining this well, and they've been cleaning it very regularly. So that's a good thing. You can see a couple areas where the ink is kind of pooling, and that's fresh ink. So he's just going around gently wiping it until all those areas are clean. And actually, while he's doing that, if you look around here, you can see that is actually the rubber seal that is in the capping station. And that's just, you know, a mixture of ink and also some cleaning fluid. That's all that is, but he does actually wipe all that as well, just to make sure, again, that there's no buildup. Because if there's any ink buildup, number one, it will give us a blurry print, and number two, it'll actually prevent the capping station from getting a good seal. So you want to always make sure that's super, super clean. If the capping station has a good seal, then those heads will never really dry and they'll stay working for a very long time. But as you can see, he's very, very carefully going and just wiping all the areas that are black, basically, not touching that silver print head. While he's cleaning the bottom part, or the plate, I want to show you here the capping station. He still has his timer going. Right now it's reading just over 3 minutes. So he's not going to have enough time to clean this capping station area, but this is the rubber seal right here, this black part that goes all the way around. So what he'll do is he'll shuttle the head back into this position, and then he'll shuttle it back out and then set a new timer for 7 minutes. That'll give him enough time to focus on this capping station and be able to also clean these blue wipers. These are the wiper blades that actually go and wipe all the excess ink away from those print heads, those silver print heads that we saw underneath. So we want to make sure that there's no buildup on those and that there's no lint or any type of particle that could potentially get stuck in the print head. So he's going to use those same lint-free cloths. He will use a new one for those because you don't want to get, you know, any of the old dirty ink and contaminate those blades. But you also want to check as you're cleaning them to make sure that they don't have any nicks or cracks or anything like that. If you're changing them with the regular service interval, you should never run into that, but any cracks in those could be a potential issue and cause problems for the print heads. Okay, so he's finished wiping the plate down below, so he's now going to manually shuttle it back by pressing that left arrow. So, sorry. And you can see it's back in place. Now, I'm going to show you the arrow that he's going to click, and before he clicks it, I'm going to move over so you can see it shuttle. So the button to the right, once again, that's actually going to move the carriage all the way to the center of the press. And here's what it looks like when he shuttles it. There you go. So he's going to set a new timer now for 7 minutes and now continue cleaning the capping station. One thing I want to mention is you can see all the excess ink that's pooling in this area. There's also a mixture of some cleaning fluid in there to prevent the ink from caking up and turning into solids. All of that slowly drains into this hole right here, which is connected to a waste tank down below. Now, you do want to keep some fluid in there to keep that whole area wet. You don't want it to be dry because then it will cake up, it will solidify. And he does actually manually drain it just a little bit whenever he does these cleanings because it will slowly fill up with ink as you're using it. Even when you're not printing, the heads are spraying just a little bit of ink constantly, or I'm sorry, intermittently, to keep those jets open. You can see here he's using that same lint-free cloth and he's gently cleaning those blue wiper blades to make sure that there's no buildup, there's no dried ink. That way the next time he runs an auto clean, those blades are totally clean. While he's doing that, I'm going to show you what it looks like down below. We can open this cabinet here. So you can see this is the same capping station, and that drain hole right here, that actually leads into a tube, and that tube goes into this waste tank. So you do want to check this waste tank and make sure it's not getting too full and overflowing. Right now we're just below halfway, so we do have quite a bit of space left in there. And now you can see he's wiping that rubber seal to make sure that when we do cap it before leaving for the day, it gets a nice seal on there. So this blue lever right here is the manual drain valve for this capping station. So he's going to open that up and just drain some of that liquid manually. There it goes. You can see it flowing into that corner. Earlier you couldn't see that hole because the valve was closed. And now he's capped it. He's drained it enough so that you can see the base of the wiper blades. You can see that there. And there's a little bit of a solid that he's going to remove just in case. But overall, this tray looks pretty clean. Those solids sometimes form when you're doing a print run and lint accumulates and it combines with ink, so just make sure to remove those as you see them. So now that the cleaning is done, we're just going to shuttle the head back into place by pressing this button right here. Click. All right, and you can see it's moved back into place. And we're going to now initiate our shutdown sequence.
That's an auto clean.
After we do the manual cleaning portion, we're going to run an auto clean one more time. Actually, I think they recommend generally to run 2 auto cleans before you shut down for the day. So we're running the first one right now. So it's going to spray ink, and then it's going to use those wiper blades to wipe the head. We'll do a second auto clean, and then we'll shut. Oh, sorry. After we do the second auto clean, we're going to do a nozzle test print, and if everything looks good, then we're going to shut the machine down. All right, so it's finished auto clean. We've got our test sheet in place, and we're going to do a nozzle test print. We just want to look for gaps, any major gaps, and we want to look for any inconsistencies. I see 2 little tiny gaps in the black, so we'll probably just run another auto clean. It isn't major, it's not a whole section missing. If you have a whole section missing, that usually means that there's something going on with the print head or a major clog. But even this is pretty clear. A quick note here, those 2 little gaps are most likely just some air in the lines. But once you run an actual, design or a print job, those air bubbles should actually work themselves out, and they probably won't even show up in the print. And little good practice here, date it and a general timestamp. Now we're going to do the shutdown process of the digital squeegee. So he's clicking the keep wet button. It's gonna spray some ink in the capping area. And then he clicked exit program. Now we're going to press and hold that start button to shut it off. We're gonna turn the light off and make sure the interlocks are on, and then hit that red button. And then we're going to shut this. Actually, we're going to shut down the computer. Shut down the computer. And you can actually just make sure that light turns off. And that's it. And then we can shut this lid. Now that everything is off, we're going to do one final check. We're going to look at the capping station here, and we want to just make sure that the capping station is all the way up, pressing against this plate here. You can see that there's no gap. There's a little bit of a shadow, but there is no gap, which means that that rubber seal is sealing that whole bottom plate, which contains all the print heads, and it should be able to sit overnight or even over the weekend without drying out. So just one final check before we leave for the day, and this looks good.